and welcome again to the FHS podcast. As the FHS Saudi Arabia 2025 is coming closer, this time instead of talking to an investor, my guest is someone who is supporting investors in their project development. Today we're looking deeper into the legal aspect of the investments and what has been and is planned to be changed in Saudi Arabia. My guest is Mr. Bilal Ambikapathy, a partner at Wisefields. Bilal, welcome, and it's my pleasure to have you here with me today.
Thank you, Marina. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
So, Bilal, tell me, how does 2025, in terms of hotel investments and transactions, looking, especially when we compare it to 2024?
There's certainly a lot of interest, Marina. What we're seeing more than ever before is two elements of investment into the hotel asset. One is from institutional funds, local funds in Saudi Arabia looking to buy income-generating hotel assets. Now, that's common. That had happened in the past, and they'd done so historically in the cities of Mecca and Medina. But this year and last, we've seen them investing into Riyadh, given how strong the Riyadh market is and how much demand there is in the Riyadh market. Interestingly enough, we have been engaged on a transaction involving one of our Saudi developers who is selling a luxury hotel in a tier 1 city outside the holy cities to a foreign investor out of Europe. And so that again is very interesting to observe. It shows a maturity in the market and a recognition of the strength of the hotel market in Saudi Arabia and the strength, the expected continuing strength, despite these geopolitical circumstances that we're currently encountering. There's certainly considerable interest.
You're right. It's really amazing that we see more foreign investors coming into Saudi because it seems that the interest will just grow, that the market is really profitable and, much more mature than it has been before, at least seen from the international investment perspective. But what do you see as the greatest challenge that the investors in Saudi have, both the domestic and international? And who do you see that is developing projects, hospitality projects mostly? Is it only domestic, or you see actually some interest also from the foreign investors?
So development historically has been Saudi focused. What is interesting now to observe is that we have very real interest from regional and Middle Eastern investors looking to come into the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. Now, the law actually changed in 2021 to allow for investors to come in through real estate funds to own or develop assets in Mecca and Medina, real estate assets. Now, there was a lot of discussion recently about foreign ownership being opened up in Mecca and Medina this year, but that was a misunderstanding of the law. What has been allowed is publicly listed companies that have assets in Mecca and Medina that were previously prohibited from investment are now allowed. It's now allowed for foreigners to acquire those shares in those listed companies that have assets in Mecca and Medina. Now, utilizing the fund structure, we're seeing investors coming in, Middle East investors coming in to Mecca, and we're seeing them actively looking at opportunities in Medina to develop in joint venture through fund structures, a hybrid fund joint venture structure. Interestingly enough, Medina was the strongest performing market in the Middle East last year. And so it outperformed Dubai, outperformed Riyadh in terms of occupancy and average daily rate. So it's being seen as very interesting and very promising. So Middle East investors are now very keen to know more about opportunities in Medina and to participate in development in Medina itself. Outside the two holy cities, we still see investment predominantly from the local market, from local landowners, from local investors.
Okay. You're right. you mentioned that it has been misunderstood, the change in legislation, and we also kind of thought that it will open up in a different way. So you're saying that now the foreign companies can buy shares of the listed companies in Saudi that has properties in Mecca and Medina, right?
That's right. So there are a number of companies on the Tadawul, on the Saudi Stock Exchange, that were prohibited from foreign investment, even under the QFI program. And that included companies like Jabal Omar Development Company, Mecca Construction and Development Company, Knowledge Economic City, Tabor Investments, because those companies had all of their assets, or primarily all of their assets, in Mecca and Medina. This new law that has come into effect will allow those companies to welcome foreign investors into their capital structure, to allow foreigners to acquire shares. It also allows them to do rights issues, to raise additional capital, and for other developers in Mecca and Medina to list and to raise capital from the foreign market. So it's a very welcome change. It's a very welcome development. But what was reported in the press was this opportunity to directly invest, and that's not the case. You cannot directly invest in Mecca and Medina as an institution or a company other than through a fund structure. And that fund then holds that asset. And if you're an individual, it's possible now to invest in Mecca and Medina as individuals, to buy a residential property in Mecca and Medina. So that is really by way of clarification. But I think, to go back to your earlier question, Marina, as to the challenges of investment, what I can say is that the investment environment has been simplified a great deal, and it's now a lot easier for foreign investors and regional investors to participate in the Saudi economy, and in particular in hotels. So hotels are very well regulated. The Ministry of Tourism has a very clear set of guidelines in terms of licensing, in terms of star rating, in terms of health and safety requirements. So the market is much more transparent now than it was before. And I think that's why it's also attracting a lot of interest. And I do expect that this year and perhaps next year will be at the time that regional investors come in. So investors from the UAE, from Bahrain, from Kuwait, who had historically had limited investments, will, I think, take advantage of the changed environment and the fact that it is so much easier now to invest and so well regulated that they'll want to come in and participate. And I expect that you'll see that in the tier 1 cities. I'll expect you'll see that in cities like Riyadh.
This was my next question. Where do you see them actually coming? Is it Riyadh, Jeddah? Do you think they will be also interested in secondary cities? How do you and what is the legal aspect of foreign investments also in Riyadh and Jeddah, for example, but also secondary cities?
Yeah, look, Riyadh is becoming an international hub, international city. I think it will soon become one of the world's mega cities with a population in excess of 10 million people. It's a very exciting city. There's so much happening in Riyadh, and I think it's really standing alone. So I do see that as being the primary market that people will invest into. Jeddah is and has always been a gateway city. It is a gateway city to the holy cities of Mecca and Medina. It is a very important trading city with ports and airports, logistics, and so on. And so I do expect that in the longer term, Jeddah will be a very attractive investment and a very stable investment as well. There are excellent opportunities in tier 2 cities. The government has done an excellent job of developing new destinations, place making, as we call it, and allowing a footprint to be created for third parties to come in and develop. And so I do expect that third parties, private sector investors will look at some of those projects, some of those new destinations as being very attractive for investment and to come in and develop hospitality assets. We have been looking at, for example, at a project on the west coast of Saudi Arabia, very beautiful natural environment, untouched at this stage and undeveloped. And this is characteristic of a lot of the opportunities that are available. Asir province as well, is breathtaking. Beautiful mountains, green forests, and then the ocean as well. So these natural destinations, I think, will lend themselves very well to tourism development in tier 2 locations. And of course, I do anticipate that given how strong the holy cities have been performing, particularly in Medina, that the existing stock will start to be developed. Medina provides a lot of opportunity for development because historically there had not been as much as in Mecca. But because of this significant shift in performance towards the Medina market, we do expect a lot of new stock to be developed, and we are working on many new projects in Medina, all of which will certainly offer opportunities for foreign investors to come in. And the great news is that it's lawful, it's regulated, it's allowed by the government through a fund structure. And this is really groundbreaking. It's happened for the first time, and I think it will really support the Saudi economy to bring in a diversified pool of equity and development skills to build out that investment environment and to build more hotel assets in that city.
Bilal, just to clarify one thing. So international investors, when they want to invest in Saudi, apart from Mecca and Medina, is it only the fund structure, the way they can invest, or is there any other way of direct investments?
Yeah, if it is outside Mecca and Medina, then they are able to directly invest where it's a development project. So where the project is under development or to be developed, then there's a clear provision in the real estate foreign investment law that allows them to come in directly and invest. The only requirement is that the development have a value in excess of 30 million Saudi riyals and be completed within a 5-year period. If you're existing company within the kingdom, you can acquire assets that are ancillary to your business, that support your business. So, for example, if you're a hotel operating company based in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, you could lease hotel assets. You could acquire hotel assets if you intend to operate them yourself. Where the gap still exists in the law is your ability to directly acquire an existing operating asset, whether it's a hotel or a shopping mall or any other asset, purely as an investment. That still is not yet available for foreigners, and that would only be possible through a fund structure. But for GCC nationals, for GCC investors, Kuwaitis, Emiratis, Omanis, and so on, they can come in directly. They are allowed to come in directly, except Mecca and Medina. So they could come in directly to a hotel asset in Riyadh, for example.
Thank you very much. I think we gave quite food for thought for all the delegates planning to attend FHS in May. The event is taking place in less than a month. So we're really looking forward to having everyone there and hearing what are their plans with investments in Saudi hospitality. And I'm sure there's plenty of plans, as we have been hearing in the last couple of years. Bilal, thank you very much once again for joining me today. I'm really very much looking forward also meeting you in person in Riyadh in May. Is there anything else that maybe you would add as important to emphasize?
Thank you, Marina. Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I think something to watch out for is the growing significance of the kingdom as a regional hub. And I think as it grows in significance, it's natural that you'll have more and more hotel assets necessary to support business. And so I think the outlook is very positive. And I think from an investor's perspective, there's a long lifespan for opportunities to continue as the kingdom strengthens and grows as a dominant force in the region.
Oh, I completely agree with you. We see more and more interest from international investors, being both the GCC nationalities, but also from Europe, from US, and also from Asia. Chinese investors are very much interested into Saudi projects. So I definitely agree with you. As Saudi will be growing more and more, there will be more interest from all around the world. And that's what it is amazing about hospitality as such. It's the diversity that we need to offer to the clients, but also the diversity of projects that will be built. So thank you once again. And I'm looking forward in seeing you at the future Hospitality Summit Saudi Arabia in May 11th.
Thank you. Thanks, Marina. Take care.